Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Every battle is won before it's ever fought. Think about it.
Welcome to the live stream where Gary Gensler and the SECs are back in the headlines for crypto. Now, they may only be instilling a slight pinch of fear into the market, but there's a much deeper historical pattern that we can see here that we're going to lay out in front of everybody when regulation will work hand in hand with the central banks, teaming up to dictate which way the market's going. Right now, everybody in VIP already knew there was an upcoming downside to the market. Why? We've been doing our paperwork. We're actually tracking the federal bond auctions. For those of you who are new, this is Satoshi's secret. Part of Bitcoin's success and its formula is that it's correlating the halving every 4 years with the global liquidity cycle, thus absorbing cash from the bond markets. September 18th, the FOMC hacks rates down. Everybody's getting excited for crypto. But of course, the investment banking class that works hand in hand with the central banks, they're not done loading their bags yet. Right now, they're doing a last round of bond auctions, scooping up, which is what is causing this downside, exactly like we predicted in VIP. This is the thing. This exact same phenomenon has now happened 3 times in a row. August 26th, we actually pull up the paperwork showing the investment banking class is getting ready to load up on these high yield bonds. They're still getting 4%. And we know come November 7th, Powell's going to hack even more down. So they had a bond auction on the 26th, the 29th, which slowed down this massive rally. And they just have a big one now, and they've got another big one coming up over the next week. We've got all the details inside VIP. When it comes to tracking the peak, this can go hand in hand, as we're about to see in a moment, because what we're seeing right now with these headlines is a correlation between regulation and the central banks, putting everything together. Beebs is congratulating everybody that's a millionaire. Everybody's going to be holding $1 million positions who's in right now. Here's the trick. We still have to sell at the right time. And correlating this to the bond market is going to go hand in hand with the first demonstration of the last time regulation was actually teaming up with central banks. And the last time was the biggest. It's the most broad stroke, the most obvious of all. This is when they first started empowering Gary Gensler. Now, it was, yes, the Biden administration that empowered him, but I will say it's become a bipartisan issue that Gary Gensler is not doing what he's supposed to do. They put him in power to sort of administer this Ponzi-nomics that was happening during the prior bull run. These layer ones that he's attacking is not what he's supposed to do. For anybody who missed the prior bull top, what starts happening is these goofy projects that are built almost completely on Ponzi-nomics start coming out. These are plug-and-play miners. This one didn't even claim to do anything. It was just a Ponzi-nomic NFT called BlockFi. Early adopters made big cash. This one was called MatchX M2. People made tons of money off this, but it eventually went to nothing because it's Ponzi-nomics. The miners have been repurposed. They originally hooked up to your smart washer and dryer. So what they were supposed to do was target those teams. And I don't think that as a legislative target, that made a good person to go after. So Gensler's like, yeah, let's just go after the layer ones. And here's the kick with Gary Gensler, putting some history behind him. This guy went around and tried to get hired by Binance, Coinbase, everybody, and they all fired him. So when the George Soros appointed swamp creatures who are running the government, they're career politicians, put Gensler in charge, they did it because they know he had a bone to pick with all these exchanges. And we've all heard what the story is. He doesn't make the rules clear to follow. He's bringing people to court over, they're like, yeah, well, you haven't applied. You're not following regulation. And they're like, dude, tell us what you want us to do and we'll do it. And Coinbase is actually countersuing him for doing this. If this was a poker game, he's the kind of guy that it's a tournament and he wants to run the clock out 60 seconds every time it's his turn. And you're going to have to actually call the floor on him. Why? Because he wants the blinds and antes to go up because his chip stack is bigger. He's just bending the rules intentionally in everybody's face because he can. And he's like, yeah, I don't care. Why are they doing this? Some will speculate it's so that the governments and central bank themselves can get a leg up on all of the computer coders and whatnot. But let's get to the source of the first team up. Regulation teaming up directly with central banks. And that's right here. When they first put Gary Gensler on the scene, this was in March of 2022. Looking at the Bitcoin chart, it's this blue arrow right here. Now, at the absolute top, this is when the feds decide to completely cut the zero free money interest rates. Economics 101, this is Satoshi's secret. As the rates lower, what the FOMC is doing is they're pushing this money out of the bond market back into the street to stimulate the economy. And this works for both stocks and crypto, hence Tesla, GameStop. Everything was rocketing exactly when Bitcoin peaked in February because they unlocked all of the bond market and they did it super fast. So this leaves a huge paper trail for people that are just studying the economy. You can be like, wow, and make much sharper correlations as if they did more of a gradual cut. It would have been far more elusive of a concept. But their fingerprints are all over. The way the fiat system works is clear as day. Satoshi, knowing this, incorporated the Bitcoin having to work with it. This is a 4-year liquidity cycle. Anyway, so when the Fed's ready to cut the party off, that's when they start taking cash out of the system and back into bonds. How do they do that? They work hand in hand, side by side with the central banks, and they give them signals like, yeah, we're going to pay you more cash now. You want more money? Instead of offering you goose egg, zero, now we're going to start raising rates. And that's the signal that everything's going downhill. As we can see right here, zero, and then they start raising it right around November, December. And this is when the start of the sell-off. And to help things along, now in comes regulation. And this is just the first example. We're going to give you another one, which is much more relative to the trading we have on video on this channel. So right here, March 9th, they empower Gary Gensler and the SEC. They so sick him. He goes after him. They're doing all this regulation. This is FTX collapse, Terra Luna. By the time everything's down here, June of 2022, and I know you guys have heard this news elsewhere about Gary Gensler, but we're putting an entirely new spin on it, which is why you guys should definitely subscribe right now when you're watching, because you won't find this kind of content in the stock sector. If you go start watching crypto trading YouTubers, they use this hand in hand. As stocks are way harder to get these 10x gains, 100x gains. It's hard to get a double up in the stock market. So they fight way more tooth and nail, making them far more in tune to FOMC bonds. The crypto sector had it easy. With 0% interest rate plus money printing last cycle, the majority of people aren't using this. This is why their gem hunting isn't work and everything is going wrong with their sectors. And this is why we are nailing it over and over again. Getting back to this first lesson, this first example, looking at the bonds rate, as soon as it hits a local high, June 14th, 2022, look at Bitcoin. That's the absolute bottom. So you can see clearly, regulation working with the central banks hand in hand. They're raising the rates, getting cash out of crypto, and to top it off, now they're adding regulation on as well. And it works like a glove. Now, just recently, they had the exact same thing happen, but this is far more local with the current sell-off. Back here in May, the Fed did their final FOMC rate hike. The entire internet was going long. On this channel, we went short. Here's the additional piece of information that we usually leave out of this trade history. They cut off all of the COVID-19 assistance. So all of the cash, the blank checks that were getting written and sent to the stock market for COVID-19, this was all scheduled to get cut off on May 11th. Guess what happened on May 5th? They hiked the rates, inviting the central banks out of risk on assets back into the bond market where they were going to get more yield, and then they added more regulation on top of it. Central banks working with regulation all the time, keeping your eyes on the bonds will help you connect news stories together. Like this recent spook story that's happening with Gary Gensler. People in VIP could immediately correlate that with the fact that there's a bond auction going on. And yeah, they want to start scooping up more altcoins on the swing low. Let's talk about Kaspa. Oh yeah, we are absolutely crushing it. So everybody's got their opinion on what's going on with Kaspa. Just to get everybody up to speed on who's who when it comes to Kaspa, we had predicted this downside months before it happened. How could you possibly have done that? People think, oh, it's some goofy geometry technical analysis. No, we never do naked TA. We always have fundamental reasons. And part of it is the entire concepts of rate cuts. On top of that, the KRC20 launch happening parallel with the rate cut. What that's saying from a broad scale picture is, hey, don't buy bonds anymore, invest on Kaspa. But here's the kicker. The KRC20 teams, they're selling all of that Kaspa that's getting minted into your Nacho, into your Kaspa meme coins. So everybody who's minting Kaspa meme coins and thinking, man, we got to get Kaspa to stop falling, buy those on the exchange instead. That's going to help out drastically. So we have multiple posts identifying where the exact top would be. We actually shorted it, planning ahead of time. The entire internet was going, yes, we're going to go long, right? All those young Peach Fuzz Mafia guys are like, yeah, we're going to get super paid. And we're like, we're going to short it. And then we're going to buy it on the bottom because we understand what we're doing. Meanwhile, everybody's like, okay, Kaspa hasn't been too hot lately. We want to get in on these meme coins. We want to get these ripping monster gains like Turbo, Hoppy, when in fact, from actual gem hunting, real world use case projects have been going neck and neck and beating Hoppy and Turbo, which keep in mind, you guys, we have to be fair when we're analyzing here.
Exciting now.
Turbo and Hoppy are a bag of six. You've got Pepe with those. You've got Brett. You've got Andy. You've got a whole variety of meme coins, and we're taking the best two. Meanwhile, inside our VIP group, because we do a real actualized gem hunt in detail, we're picking out the ones that are crushing this. So we're shooting less shots and we're hitting on target with more gains. Like, what are you talking about? This is Hoppy, okay? It's going from 6 to 30 at all-time high. That's a 5X. That's pretty beastie. This is Turbo, going from 3.5 to 9. We're getting in on DEAI. This is one of our gem huntings. We posted a new listing exchange when it was down here. Spectral, which has been running just to double up, and also Moonwell, which we started getting our eyes on down here. We've been making multiple trading plans for, picking up all the way up here. Originally trying to pick up Moonwell at around 22, 23, and then indefinitely scooping it up at 30 and under on this recent breakout. With Spectral, here's the thing, Kaspa Maxi, right? Started out with $12,500, shorted AVAX based on that entire COVID-19 funding, while the rest of the internet was going long, we shorted. shorted AVAX, doubled up, and then rolled it all into Kaspa. As a Kaspa maxi, just from dropping $15,000 in, which is less than we spent on Kaspa, down here on Spectral, if this goes up to 25, we've got an enormous position. If it goes up to $50, we've got an equal position of Kaspa. It's time diversification. Putting your money in the asset classes that are going to move, and when they're going to move, in correlation with the investment bank and their knowledge of federal funds rates. What are you talking about? As the FOMC gives more information, now the investment bankers understand how the market's going to break down. They could have went out on September 18th and said, we're only going to cut rates by 25 points, and then we're not going to cut them again. In fact, we're going to start raising them in the fall of 2025. That would have completely changed the market dynamics. Your layer ones would have been seeing way more upside, and your altcoins and your DeFi would be slumping. It would have flipped the script. Because they're having a prolonged bull market by holding the rates down for a longer period of time, on this, it's going to look like this. Remember, as soon as they start raising, the party's over. As soon as they cut it, 1 year from now, the party started. They just started cutting now, February 20th, 2020. This is the 1 year bond. That's February 2021. You can look at Tesla, GameStop, the entire stock market rockets. So it's not the halving. Ouch, that's tough to have sold your Spectral right before it starts going. See, the thing is, there's a lot of pressure with Spectral in Silicon Valley. I don't know if you have the 24-point report on it. If you guys are going to invest in DEAI, Spectral, Desync, or any artificial intelligence, there's a ton of value in knowing these projects and the sectors inside and out. We have these 24-point reports. This VIP group isn't for everybody because it takes a lot of reading and time on your part. It's not lazy people want to do meme coins because that's easy. I can look at a JPEG. I can see how banging their Twitter account is and make my decision from that. When you're researching these AI picks, this is going to take you a hot minute. Even after all the research is done. So for advanced traders, they're hiring somebody on to read the white papers for them. I've already scrolled through all the new listing AI projects, weeded out a briefer list, and then got these all detailed out. Here's the thing about Spectral. Has tons of correlation to Silicon Valley, as we talk about in detail in the report. Therefore, in the scenario JD Vance becomes the vice president, he's under the tutelage of Peter Thiel. And of course, the whole Gary Gensler thing is completely bipartisan. Everybody wants him out at this point. The Democrats who gave him the power are like, dude, you're embarrassing us. This is not what we told you to do. They're not happy with what Gary is up to. He was supposed to go after the Ponzi-nomic projects, but he's going after the layer ones. So they're upset. Yeah, after the FOMC meeting, which is part of what we're trying to correlate when we do gem hunting, and this is why everybody else's gem hunting has gone wrong, partially in timing. Remember 400 days ago, everybody was trying to find the hit GameFi project. The number one flaw in that entire thesis was your timing. You do not buy GameFi 800 days before the bonds get unlocked. You buy GameFi 180 days after they cut rates. So around this spring and this summer. And of course, we have the best GameFi project of all in 24-point report. Took me 60 manpower hours just to hunt it down. And I clocked myself after the first day. And I'm talking about like focused bowl of ramen, cup of hot tea, 60 hours of reading white paper and scrolling through every new GameFi listing just to find this for you guys. And then who knows how long to write the report and dig up all the details. This GameFi project is not on exchanges yet. And we have another one just like it that's not GameFi. It's an Oracle. Oracle Gambling by Polychain. Going to be huge. Oh, yeah, that was a mistake because of the exchanges that Spectral's listed on. It's almost impossible to get a solid charting on this because it's moving so choppy right now. The kind of projects that you want to go for more of a in and out entry are like an AVAX because it has a lot less chop. There were some people inside the group that had, you know, under shark size bags of Kaspa and they wanted to increase. And I was saying, if you guys want to do it, you're going to have to trust the data. This is going to be hard, but you got to sell your Kaspa at the KRC20 launch when we plan the short trade entry, sell it then, and then buy it back at the bottom. So this is coming down to another thing, which is really what we're relying on inside VIP, trust the data. We build these super accurate models like this, and there's a lot more that goes into this. It's not just technical analysis. With our bond auctions, right, guys, and everything that's going on, we've got to trust the data. Now, sometimes, like on Spectral, there'll be a unique circumstance, like the election results might be causing Spectral to actually break out above this level. Meanwhile, with Moonwell, because it's far more linked to the total 3, we actually got that strong pullback, just like we did on the total 3 today. Trust the data is the best way to trade. Learn to build models and then use the models that you build, right? Use the model that you built. That's the best way to do it. As you're getting more comfortable with your model and its accuracy, you know, dollar cost average a little bit. This is one of the leading problems with your meme coins. And I learned this lesson the hard way from trading GameStop. So I've showed everybody my tickets on GameStop from the prior market, and I'm bringing this up to show you the dates, just to underline how important the bond auctions are. You guys turn on your television and you're seeing this guy on TV, right? Right here, Powell. He's on and he's talking about jobs and data, and you're like, oh, that doesn't have to do anything with me for crypto because the supply chain management warehouse cost or the rising of wages isn't going to affect crypto. That is completely wrong. It is, because depending on how the world of the economy is rolling out, the FOMC will cut rates, forcing this money back onto the street faster. And this is Satoshi's secret. This is the brilliance of Bitcoin. Do you think it's just a coincidence that the last time the Bitcoin halving was right here? Guess when the last time rate cut was? Here. So this is the halving, this is the rate cut. 4 years later, you get a Bitcoin halving and another rate cut. 4 years before that, a halving and a rate cut. See, Satoshi knew what the FOMC was doing. He knew about their global liquidity cycle, which waxes and wanes every 4.5 years. And he built Bitcoin around it. That's one of the hidden geniuses of Bitcoin. And once we know this, now we're suddenly, paying more attention to the FOMC data. And when we incorporate it into our trading, we see results instantly. That's how I've been the #1 performing trader on video. That's how we get all of these epic call outs that we do inside VIP. And we're using this to look forward. Come spring, AI and DeFi will already be beefed up. Moonwell will be the size of Aerodrome. Spectral be around $1 billion market cap. They'll already be beefed up, matured. It'll be Oracle, ZK Rollup, and GameFi. That'll be the final sector to start putting on weight. So the biggest mistake that everybody made 400 days ago was they were loading up on GameFi. And this does affect some of the projects because when you're looking at, let's say, like a Strapnel, right? Or let's just say a GFAL, there's a lot of investors that are trapped. A lot of people have their money from up high, and that's not good. You want to, like, look at this run. GFAL just had a beautiful run. Guess who was selling? Everybody who was buying here. They're like, nope. I've been trapped in this losing position. They've grown to hate GFAL, and they're getting their money out. This is exactly what just happened on GFAL. So all these popular projects that were probably going to do good because they got so popular early, we're looking for a whole new batch now, unfortunately. So that's part of the gem hunting that's going on right now. Yeah. Yeah, Spectral has been really running super strong as we have these clear trend lines that are starting to play out, but it's just jumping over levels, beefing up so fast and so strong. It's still amazingly early when we're looking at the roadmap of Spectral, and this can easily be a multi-billion-dollar company valued at 100 million right now, and we can see based on the roadmap how super early it is. Back to Kaspa and Gary Gensler. Obviously, Kaspa doesn't want to do a Coinbase listing right now with Gary Gensler in office because they don't have any funds to defend themselves in court. All the SEC has to do is slap Kaspa with some sort of a court hearing, and they are in a world of hurt. So waiting for the coast to clear and better regulation is obviously in Kaspa's favor. But the low on Kaspa, this is in. And as we see the rest of the market start to capitulate and see some downside, Kaspa's holding strong. And this is so key. And it has a ways to go before it's going to start doing price growth again. Like a lot of layer ones that packed on tons of market cap earlier on. They're kind of on the back burner for right now, but they're going to step up and have their moment in the sunshine later on. Yeah, with NVIDIA, Google, Facebook, Tesla, all of the leading stocks across the entire NASDAQ, they're all connected with artificial intelligence. It's the absolute most rapidly growing sector. VCs, venture capitalists are throwing cash at artificial intelligence hand over fist. Here's the catch. Once AI is up and running, it has a real world use case. Right now, and a lot of people have a difficult time assessing this for crypto because it functions different than a stock. Cryptos actually have real world use case. Part of the total three's massive upside that you can see in the peak of the market is from actual video games being played, actual transactions taking place on chain. There's loads of projects with computational power, Octaspace, Aether, getting ready. Right now, what's driving the price up? Speculation. Everybody's gearing up thinking how well they'll do once they flip the switch. All of this cash comes out of the bond market, depending on how drastically the Fed cut rate. They're stimulating the economy. It's go time. This is the cue for the bull market directly. All of these projects, they're running a video game. They're running some artificial intelligence coding, sequencing, reading people's Twitters, coming up with funny joke replies, sending coupons in the mail, doing all kinds of funky stuff on chain. That's what's going to drive the growth on these layer ones like Kaspa. It's not going to be people stepping up saying, man, I got to buy some more Kaspa. Now that it's over $1, $2, we got to step up and buy it. It's going to be Kaspa getting used. Kaspa's the fastest. And we saw some of this on Solana. As the Solana meme coins were really starting to kick off, Solana had its day in the sun. Solana saw some massive upside. Solana had problems on chain. You guys remember those crashes? Their stablecoin activity got cut into a tenth. Looking at DeFi Llama, it looked like Solana was ready to really start picking up more than its fair share of market cap. Look what happened. It was at one point at 60 billion. Looking at the size of Ethereum, 84 billion. Tron does a lot. So Solana was as big as Tron. Kaspa, once they get the stable coins up and running, it's going to be huge. It's their preferred chain. It's got more security, more scalability. To top it off, the KII is working with the gigawatt coin. There's a lot coming down the road for Kaspa. We're waiting right now on part of sections of the white paper will be leaked directly to this channel. And we'll get them out there. The gigawatt coin is going to be huge because it's the first carbon neutral or carbon negative stable coin. Right now, these big companies, Tesla, Facebook, Google, you name it, they're all having stable coins on their books. It's becoming part of a Wall Street breakdown. If you were to really get into the guts of, let's say, NVIDIA on Wall Street, do their accounting, you will find they have stable coins in their books. With the rise of carbon credits, with the rise of climate enforcement, having a carbon neutral stablecoin or even a carbon negative stablecoin can be an absolute game changer. On top of the security, added speed, everything like that. I mean, imagine being the market makers. You've got to put all this liquidity up on exchanges. What chain would you prefer to hold all of those stable coins on? Ethereum isn't good for your business model because it costs you more money. And plus, when the bull run's actually up and running, it's going to be slow. Solana, you're already starting to get a lot of crashes. Kaspa, top of the line. The 10 BPS upgrade is going to be a total game changer. So Tau, this is a flagship product, and we're going to get a bit into technical analysis here, but we're not going to go into the deep end because we've got to explain to everybody what the repeating trend line system is real quick. Cryptos, unlike the stock market, because they have a strict halving and emission schedule, they have trend lines that repeat themselves over and over again. As you can clearly see with these Fibonacci angles, downward price channel, downward price channel. Check this out. When we zoom in, and this is a clone of the previous Fibonacci measurement tool. So we set this up in VIP right here on the 19th of September, and then bounces off the golden pocket, finds resistance on this level, breaks into the gray zone, bounces off of it until it then finds the blue zone. And now it's been getting rejected, entering into the blue zone. And of course, we predicted all of this inside VIP using an additional indicator right here as it was entering the gray zone. As soon as we had made that on September 19th, we were like, you know what? This is an exact clone. We added an additional indicator known as stochastics. And we were like, we're going to jump all the way up to the blue zone. We had predicted 700, just shy of it. And we're going to find more downside here. This will be the next downward price channel. And we're seeing downward price for Tau as we speak. This can continue to sell off to 475, 500 to 475. 450 even. I'll have to take more detailed analysis on Tau, but we have more downside ahead, and this will correlate with your bond auction data inside VIP. We pull up these, we do accountings for them, and we have a bunch of historic ones. When it comes time to sell the tops, remember, the FOMC is going to work with the central banks hand in hand. They're going to start offering more yield on bond. Therefore, trading and looking at the bond auctions for the whole year coming up is going to give massive insight into when it's time to sell. As the yield is higher and these bond auctions take place, we'll know the dates, we'll know the dollars like we've been doing on the Total 3 recently. Bond auction here, here, and here. It's like a clockwork. We've actually started doing the accounting behind the technical analysis. It's getting really spooky. Really spooky.
Good question.
No, Flux, not a great project. A lot of hype behind Flux. Terrible chart. I was once a big believer in Flux, and I once owned a majority share in Flux, but it's not a great project. They hype up a lot of things. And one of the really big giveaways that Flux is not a great project is they hype up things that shouldn't be hyped up. Like, you know how they're always talking about, oh, we've got Flux is on AVAX, Flux is on Matic, Flux is on Tron. You can get Flux on all these chains. This is a major big deal. That just means that it's just a run-of-the-mill crypto. Every crypto is on multiple different chains. Like when you see with Spectral, for example, you can get it on Ethereum and you can get it on Base. And also when Flux did that, when they started making more Flux on more chains, they actually used it to dilute and just create more coins, making it super inflationary, which is why it's just this massive descending triangle. No, I do not like. I don't like Flux. It's got an interesting community, but it's not going to be a big price gainer. Definite no. I remember people were talking this up and I was trying to talk people out of it, knowing a lot about the project. It's just no good. New listings are where it's at. There's a lot of people also trapped in Flux. Remember how we were talking about the GameFi projects, how people are trapped? Dude, look at all these. Like basically every single Flux investor is trapped at this point. They're in a losing position. That's an issue. That's an issue for price growth. There's some up and coming larger bond auctions, and they could lead to pullbacks, but it's looking monstrously bullish, really. It can even get to all-time highs around the FOMC, getting back up to 16 by November 7th range, forming a giant cup and then breaking out. I mean, that could realistically take place. So this FOMC meeting itself, this is going to be huge depending on what Powell does and the numbers that he lays out, particularly focusing in on wage and jobs. As we did inside VIP on the last FOMC meeting, we started talking about wage growth as a lagging indicator. This is something that you want to start to hone your skills in for. No, it's not a bad thing that Kaspa's using the Flux nodes. No. I haven't researched that in detail yet. sounds to me like something that the Flux team is putting out there. They're really big on publicity and marketing. So in my opinion, there might be some Kaspa nodes running on Flux out there in the woods. You could set one up at home running a Kaspa node and do it on Flux and then be like, yeah, Kaspa's running on Flux. This is ultimately the source of that. When you really debunk it, it's nothing major. It's something that this is like I was talking about with Flux. They're great marketers. They know exactly how to get retail investors interested in their project. And this is something that you've got to watch out for, guys. And it takes time to get a keen ear and the right eye to understand when teams are just trying to manipulate you and try to get you interested in the project, like Flux does to a mastery level with their whole, oh, this is on chain now, or, oh, I opened a node on the Flux chain for Kaspa, which I would almost bet is exactly what they did. Another team that did this extremely well is Alphium. They're like, oh, our emission is lasting 180 years. And when you actually look at the projects that they're running, the DeFi they have, the staking, there's like $50 staked on their liquidity pool. Their NFTs sell like $50 a month worth of NFTs. So it's almost like window dressing. And they're like, we actually have everything up and running. As you dive deeper into Alphium, they don't use a coding language that coders know. They use their own custom language called Ralphium. So it's not Rust, it's not Solidity, it's not Golang or Python. It's their own fancy language, thus cutting them off from the rest of the market. These type of projects are technology meme coins. They never get that real world use. Hence the rise of meme coins, because there's so many projects out there that are just hands down technological meme coins. They're getting a lot of data, which is valuable, but they're not actually having use case. And to separate them out takes a fine-tooth comb. And you've really got to look throughout the entire sector. Using the 24-point checklist, which is such a powerful tool, I've seen other creators come up with the 25-point checklist. My hat's off to them, but you could have repurposed this tool if you really understood how to use it and turned it into 84 questions to ask artificial intelligence, cut, copy, paste. So there's two tools that you can use hand in hand. And this isn't for everybody because it's going to take work. So all you guys that just want to look at the JPEG, spend 15 minutes looking at a meme coin and go with that, this might not be for you. But if you want to dig in deeper and start researching more of the on-chain dynamics that are going to separate the real-world use cases from not, we've got everything that you need to trade off of listed here. Because you can study crypto for endless hours and it still won't make you a better trader. There's guys who live in this $1 million condo who can code for Phantom. They've been offered jobs. Their bag is like Shiba Inu and Dogecoin. Not exactly utilizing those skills as a trader. So we've got these managed learning systems to help everybody dig in. If there was a button that we could press and you would instantly be smarter, we'd have that, but you've got to put the work in. So we're just outlining it like if it was going to the gym, we'd be like 5 sets of this. This is what you've got to look at. This is what you've got to read up. This is what you've got to dig into, and it will make you smarter. Using these, remember, we just got, after the last FOMC meeting, all the projects, the gem hunts that we have, they were all in the top 100 over the past 30 days. We're going neck and neck with the best of the best meme coin gains on real projects. Of course, time diversifying first, it was Kaspa. That's a layer one. That's the bag you packed first. Now we're packing AI and DeFi. If you're a latecomer, you definitely want to get some layer one. And then the final bag that we'll be packing, ZK Rollup, Oracle, and GameFi. Kind of all crunched together around the spring. And by then, the AI and DeFi will be stacked. Those bags will be juicy. I see your pick, Beebs. Node AI GPU. Let's bring this up. This is the exact type of project that's going to see use case. So in terms of computational power, artificial intelligence, renting out GPU, this is something that is in super high demand. Hence, NVIDIA is flying through the roof. Tesla, Facebook, all of these stocks that own tons of these A100 industrial strength GPUs, they're doing so well because they have their own GPU mining power. So just because this is a pick that's off in the darkness somewhere that you haven't heard of, doesn't get a lot of publicity or price action, doesn't mean anything, because they still have something that's in demand. And as the bull run starts peaking, this can get real on-chain action. But you're also putting it up against other bests in the business. The top dog that you want to read in this sector, obviously Aether. For those of you who haven't heard of it, they have more hash power than every single DePIN project put together. Flux, Node AI, Chlor, Render, just combined them all. These guys have more hash power. So it's an insane monster of a beast of a project. Pretty competitive market cap. One of the issues here is, well, this isn't too bad of a volume. You definitely want to have more than 500,000 in daily volume. So this is still fine. Vet this up against your Chlor AI, a cash, which I wouldn't really go for a cash because it already saw so much upside due to the Zeph mining. It was like I'll bring the article up right here. It caused the cash to have massive upside as they were. So a cash has kind of got this baked in. Here we go, right here. Arbitrage. That was the word I was looking for. They did this arbitrage mining on Zeph, which is running right now. And it caused the cash just to get so much market cap baked in. I'd probably lean away from that because it just got just too much supersonic price action. Yeah, it's good. This is good. It's a good project. Vetted against Chlor AI, which is one of my favorites in sector. Chlor AI is looking pretty good, and it's hard to compete with. But yeah, good pick. Real world assets are indefinitely part of the narrative of this entire video because the White House has stepped up with this regulations, assuming that all of the teams, as they start building the next layer of crypto on top of these tier one chains, and we can see part of this by just looking ahead at the IDOs and ICOs that are up and coming. You can take your favorite VC like Polychain Capital and see just what they're doing. Or we have a list of the best 30 VCs in the 24-point checklist. That'll give you a far bigger spread of the best up and coming projects. And you can see, particularly in the AI sector, there's a lot of SoFi type of projects coming up, like GPT 360. Using that artificial intelligence and then attaching it on to social media is an ongoing narrative that you'll find as you scroll through these new IDOs and ICOs. But for real world assets, this is a narrative that should be popping off according with regulations for this bull run, as we're going to be leaning way farther away from Ponzi-nomics and things of this nature. But while combing through the IDOs and ICOs, I haven't seen that many real world assets popping up. Here we go. So what we're looking at here is all of the up and coming real world assets. Yield Bricks is a protocol for tokenizing your real world asset returns that easily bridges the gaps between traditional investing and the DeFi world of returns, offering investors new opportunities. This protocol allows people to unlock the potential of real world assets. Doesn't really say a lot of what they're doing exactly. But then you'll see some that are much more connected with real estate, like this one, Estate X. This one's probably got some apartments, some condos, something along this lines. Yeah. This one's allowing you to invest in real estate without needing large amounts of capital. So they're going to go out and buy hotels, chop them all up on the blockchain, and then sell everybody everything. And this is very big for BlackRock. BlackRock indefinitely wants to start getting way more real world assets out there because this is going to allow them to create more ownership. It's going to help them jump over massive hoops of regulations. So when you're owning a title to a property, you've got to go through town hall, city hall. People can go around and fake that. There's guys all over YouTube who are like, oh yeah, I used to make fake house title loans and then turn around and sell them, thinking that they were smart, working the system that has massive flaws. So yes, BlackRock wants to step up in real world asset, not just real estate. They want to start doing actual land. Like the jungle in South America is where they're working right now. Rivers, oceans. They want to tokenize the entire thing for its protection, of course, and to incorporating it in with the whole climate change narrative. THT, an AI project. Let's see if we can get it. It's not even showing up on Crypto Rank. As part of a new listing strategy, we've had people come on and try to promote random meme coins. Whenever we do new listings and we have a step-by-step guide on vetting if they're going to be worth their mustard, this is how we, by chance, came up with this Alex Becker pick 24 hours before he dropped it. Was just from using our new listing vetting process. So we say it's good here. Alex Becker comes out 24 hours later and says it's good here. Then it rockets, but we were already in. Part of the system's just the basics are making sure that it's actually listed on Crypto Rank, making sure that they have visible tokenomics and that they're attached to. This is a great tool right here, chainbroker.io. You can break down the tokenomics and so much more on anything, like looking at SUI. It shows you the top Twitter followers, all kinds of different metrics, but most importantly, it shows you the tokenomics. And so something that's really big for new listings specifically is the token generation event. So during the bull market, there'll be a time and a place for 45 days when anything with the word AI in it is just going to absolutely moonshot. And we saw this a few months ago, if you guys remember. Everything AI was rocketing. That's how we got this as a swing trade. One thing that you've got to check is the token generation event to see how many tokens are getting unlocked on day one. Now, there's two different strategies that teams will use here. They'll go for the quick and hard shot right away, not release a lot of tokens, and this will be less than 1%. That means that they're trying to get price action from the get-go. Now, an entire flip side of this for some projects that just knew, yeah, we're releasing kind of in a bearish market conditions. We're just going to go ahead and unlock a lot of tokens early. And we're looking at some price charts for some GameFi and some ZK rollup projects right now that have heavy unlocks, and the price charts just look terrible, right? They just open and they just kind of sold off. You're like, oh, I wouldn't want to invest in that. That's okay, because you can explain it with the tokenomics. They got all their unlocks done early. Now that's behind them, and it's clear and free for price action to the upside. Yeah, so I heard Alex Becker call out Palm AI, and I was out eating ribs at Ellis Island the other day, right after doing a live stream, and I saw Alex Becker's most recent video where he says, yes, stupid, buy this now. And I watched it, and it was like, it was almost identical to the live stream that we just gave, where he didn't go into detail that much. He only mentions Ponzi-nomics. And he talks about computational and how when the bull run starts, what's actually driving the price up is the on-chain use. So that's something that we've got to keep in mind. It's also part of the vetting system. What we don't want to get during the bull run in our bag is projects that are just based on speculation, like Alphium. Because the problem with Alphium is it doesn't have a lot of real world use. A lot like Flux with hosting the Kaspa nodes on Flux, they are exceptional marketers. Exceptional marketers. So what do? Oh, anyone can run a Kaspa node, right? You just open one up. You're like helping contribute to the blockchain. They're like, yeah, let's run some Kaspa nodes on Flux. And this will be a great marketing piece because they want to have their name tied with Kaspa. They're exceptionally good marketers. We got to watch out for this, you guys. These teams are tricky. Remember, we're playing poker at a table of people. Central banks, investment banking class, the miners, the teams, and all of social media just got hoodwinked by KRC20 except for us. We were the only guys that were not only realizing there was going to be downside, you're handing teams that made a meme coin your good Kaspa for a meme coin, and they are instantly selling it. They've got marketing costs to sell. They have to pay people off. That Kaspa is getting sold in real time. We were shorting Kaspa, actually shorting it off the KRC20 launch. Complete opposite of what everybody else was doing. Using the repeating trendline system, we are able to get an exact location of where the price would bounce off of, right at 18, and where it would head to. Here at 12.5. And man, did it burn me when I realized it went all the way down to 12, because I thought we had it exactly predicted. But of course, the success of the KRC20 launch caused it to go down an extra half-cent. But that would have been like the crystal ball prediction of all time if we had got it exactly right and the low was at 12.5. That would have been like Twilight Zone next level. And we're making these predictions months in advance, understanding the fundamentals. Plus, this is great technical analysis. That's all over the YouTube, but it hasn't been published yet. The repeating trendline system. Just like on Tau, we put this repeating trendline right on the prior breakout. So back here, right back here, how did we know it was going to stop at 18 cents? We take the x-axis repeating trend line and we put it here. What's the x-axis trend line? It starts back here. And it repeats itself over and over again. It's always the exact same trend line, you guys. Just keeps repeating itself over and over again. And now, as this white and black line, their comparison is known as the wick-off breakout method. You can read an entire book on this. It was designed for stocks. This is an augmentation of it, specifically for crypto, specifically for the repeating trend line system, which works like a charm. Not only did we get all these Kaspa picks right, we got the 10x leverage trade call out here on the whole God candle. We got everybody in for 10x leverage 72 hours before it started. Like what? Open VIP here. Everybody in on cold storage at 11.5 and under. Everybody in on 10x leverage trade again at 12.25. Also, using the classic pattern directory, we recognized there was trouble. There was trouble ahead. Timmy's trapped in the well. As the Bank of Japan carry trade was going down, we recognized this head and shoulder pattern. At the time, it was naked technical analysis, but we soon paired it with the Bank of Japan narrative, and we had everybody do a stop loss on those leverage trades. So massive success rate on Kaspa charting, almost uncanny. And of course, we're going to be calling when Kaspa is going to break out. For everybody outside of the United States who can leverage trade Kaspa, we'll be getting them in. And for anybody who wants to swing trade it as well, getting everybody in right before it breaks to the upside and starts rocketing. Yes. So we had been predicting a month before that this would be the bottom. Even in the event that we get more downside, it will just double. I mean, it could come back down to 12. This would be the worst case scenario. But it looks like we're starting to establish enough lateral move away from this downtrend that we're not going to retrace and make contact with the x-axis again. So part of charting these breakouts is we need to get away from this downward trend line and start moving sideways. And if we can just hang on and not retouch this by the 30th, so by November 1st, November 2nd, we'll be far enough away from the x-axis where it will start automatically looking for new support levels along the y-axis. This is pretty cool. Back to these repeating trend lines. So this historically, way back in the day, before anybody had heard of Kaspa or was really trading it, we saw this massive rip to the upside and got on everybody's radar. So it starts to pull back and we're looking for support. Now you can see right here, this is the first y-axis support line. This is part of that repeating trend line system because the emission and halving schedule is so strict in crypto. It's different than the stock market. The trend lines repeat themselves. So we get this repeating one here. It forms a symmetrical triangle, breaks to the downside. This is when they actually raised rates. Remember in May, they raised rates, plus they did that whole COVID thing. On May 11th, they cut off all COVID funding. So risk on market's very bearish. You can go back and watch the old videos. We're actually actively looking for this y-axis repeating trend line to start picking up traction again. From here and here, it repeats here. And we're like, start bouncing off this. Come on, baby. It starts bouncing off it. And we're like, okay, this is good to go. Paired with the read, as they raise rates, we were actually short AVAX at this time. All of crypto banter, altcoin daily, they said, it's altcoin season. We put a huge short in on AVAX. Layering in, not just going completely crazy, but we end up taking our $12,500 and doubling it. So while we're holding this monster short, from back here, look what happens. Remember how we were saying Batman and Robin, the central banks and the investment bankers, they work together. They're a team and they're trying to work us, retail. As soon as they raised rates, that gives the signal for the investment banks to get their money out of risk on assets and put it in the bond market. To top it off, then you get some added regulation. The Gary Gensler type of crowd. This time it's the COVID money's getting cut off. So the total three, Jane and Jump Street sell all their legacy cryptos, their AVAXs, their Tron, everything that they had on either Robinhood or Webull, creates this massive, this was a bloodbath, you guys. It had lost like all of its gains. Everybody was like, oh my God, people were like throwing up in their mouth. We were short, so we were like, yeah, told you so. Look what happens on Kaspa though. This entire time, Kaspa is going sideways and up. And so right there, we know there's an automatic connection. This chart shows it even more clear. There's an automatic connection to Kaspa in the bond market. Because if these investment banking class are pulling their money out of risk assets to put it into bonds, but they stopped and picked some up in Kaspa, and it has to be the investment bankers because they're the ones who make all the trades around FOMC. We know somebody big is interested in Kaspa. All the talk about how it's super fast and super good, this is legit. This is legit. So we back the truck up and we go all in on Kaspa. Here, look at all the FOMC meetings that had massive effect. Boom. Boom. This is correlating Kaspa to the bond market. Thus, as the bull market finally takes shape, which we know is fueled from the bonds, it will absorb more than its fair share, completely pigging out.
Good question.
That's an excellent question. This information is still coming out as we speak. Based on the information that we have right now from the Fed, no. In fact, it's quite the opposite. The bull run is going to be more eased into part of Gary Gensler's, part of Jerome Powell's plan at a soft landing. But the bull run will extend for a longer period of time as they're planning on keeping rates down for longer. The previous time that they cut rates was here, before the halving. Now, on this cycle, the halving happened first, and then the rate cuts. Add on a splash of regulation from the SEC and Gary Gensler, and indefinitely, it can push back when this run-up phase will kick off. This is going to come from the bond market getting unlocked, and they're just starting to cut rates now. As more information comes to us, specifically in November, looking into the wage market, that's a lagging indicator that will show us, hopefully the FOMC is going to be forced to cut rates fast and hard. They're already planning on doing 1 point.
Exciting now.
In 2025, and they have options to do this. And there's articles you can read detailing this. Option number one is they're going to cut all of the rates in the first quarter of 2025. As investors, that's what we want. It's just going to make it way easy for us to track the market and predict it. Their other option is they spread the rate cuts out throughout the year of 2025, and we don't want that. We want them to actually cut more than a point as fast and as hard as they can, but they'll need to have a weakening labor market in order for that to take place. Sometimes this data and these numbers can get cross reads. Thus, by looking into wage growth, part-time versus full-time, we had a post detailing this inside of VIP, and we'll have another one as the FOMC meeting takes place, all the information that we get, and then there's a follow-up post the next week, right? Then they're going to talk about CPI. They're going to go into all of these detailed information, and from it, the market will react. So we want them to cut rates way harder, way faster. That will make the bull run more decisive and clear, but it's already, based on the information that we have, going to last longer. The distribution will have more time to do so because the party will continue until they start raising rates. That's when it's all over. Oh, yeah. Then this rabbit hole goes deep. You can go to college and learn all about the economy. The key is that you're aware of it and that you're learning it and studying it enough to trade off of. Another reason why we're always leaving breadcrumb trails into our VIP, it's $47. Your value's covered instantly for the reports that you get. You get 7 reports. The majority of them are in AI. You use the 84 cut, copy, paste questions. And when you're ready to have a study session, hit the reports. It's not fun and exciting stuff. This is monotonous and boring. You're reading white papers about technical projects and coding. Okay, this isn't the stuff that showgirls are interested in doing with you on a Friday night. This is, you got to crunch these numbers out and do this stuff. Take the time. We got everything that you need. And this will get you up to speed in AI and helping locate these gems that we've clearly shown we have a massive advantage over every other managed learning system. The majority of people are just doing it off the top of their head. They don't even have a written system, which is absurd. You can't even run a McDonald's without a written system. How are you supposed to vet these complex financial instruments, particularly as laymen? This is why using artificial intelligence is such a great tool, because it bridges the gap for us as laymen. We're now able to understand more as AI can translate. It can go to the GitHub page. This is open source. Everybody's working on code around the world, and it can tell us, yeah, there's 20 guys working and this is what they're building, and they seem to be working pretty fast. It's almost done. Otherwise, it's in gibberish to us. We go to the GitHub page and have no clue what's going on. So the AI knows code like the back of its hand. It can teach us all this stuff and more. So definitely a tool that you want to start using and works hand in hand with the VIP. So yeah, as of right now, the entire bull market going to be a bit delayed. People were thinking 500 days based on the halving, but looking at GameStop, looking at Tesla, look at these dates. GameStop doesn't have a halving. This peaked 20 days before Bitcoin. All right, that's 20 days before the Bitcoin peak. Looking at Tesla, same thing. February 10th. This is 10 days from the Bitcoin peak. Does Tesla have a halving? No, because that's not the primary bullish factor. It's part of Satoshi's design that the halving is taking part as this global liquidity rate cut is happening. This is the monopoly game of economics that we're playing. So you indefinitely to follow Satoshi's footsteps to get the whole package. Yeah, Satoshi was this mastermind computer coder, but he was also a mastermind in economics, which is a reason why Satoshi was likely a team of people. So we're not just studying computers here. We need to study the economy and macroeconomics. You want to be watching this guy on the news and understanding and breaking down what he's saying. And this is going to play directly over when the bull market's happening. Remember, we get swings like this and everybody's like, oh man, you're getting all emotionally excited, right? Like people were saying, oh, Kaspa's over with, right? Because they thought it was going long. Now they're like, oh, wait until the bull run starts, you guys. We're going to be becoming multimillionaires to millionaires, millionaires to 100,000aires, right? And having $250,000 to having 50 grand in 48 hours. It's going to be extremely dynamic. Price is going to be moving. This is underlining the concept of build models, detailed models, and utilize your models to help you trade. And we have the best models inside our VIP. And everybody's chipping in and working to help augmentate them and shift them around. Because when the bull market starts, it's going to be on. And it's going to be, after the run-up phase on layer ones, there's usually a pretty decent sell-off. Looking at, like, let's say AVAX, for example, this is going to be a sweat. It's going to be tough for people. It's going to take nerves of steel. It's going to test way more than your knowledge and ability for vetting cryptos and stuff like that. It's going to start to test your will and everything way deeper. So great time to exercise mind and body, eat well, do some physical activity, and also exercise your brain. Most of us have TikTok brain. Do some study sessions, read some reports, dig in. You can study crypto endlessly and you won't learn anything about trading. You'll be off the subject, which is why the VIP study guide is super important. So yeah, time to load the bags now, because this is a falling wedge breaking to the upside, the exact same falling wedge breaking to the upside. It's only a matter of time before we're back at new all-time local highs on the total 3. So for some projects like Moonwell, which correlates directly with the total 3, it's an important time. And this is also kind of rounded. And you'll see a lot of falling wedges and rounding patterns all across the market, which is why trading crypto is so easy. But yeah, slightly delayed bull run. Absolutely. Because of the central bank influence. And of course, regulation is there just to back them up. Wolverine comes in, and you know what? The FOMC can go up there tomorrow and absolutely cancel everything. They can go up there and say, we've decided that we're not cutting rates anymore. We're actually going to start raising the rates right now. This can happen. I mean, it's not likely to happen, but it's in the realm of possibilities. And for most traders out there, that would fly right over their head. And of course, our layer ones are our go-to in this scenario where there's going to be a blow off top. That's why packing your bags in Kaspa first is so crucial. Of course, it's going to do great in the distribution phase, but it also gives us that security of, in case there's a blow off top, no distribution. It just goes like this cycle. Boom. That's Kaspa. You want to be in Kaspa for that, not DeFi. So just in case. Awesome, guys. Great video. Thanks for joining us on this stream. Remember, it was AI and DeFi that just rocketed up. In 60, 90 days, it's going to be an entirely new sector. So we've already got targeted out the gems to continue bag packing as they're stacking on market cap for this breakout. But there'll be another one, and we're going to have a whole new watch list of gems inside our VIP. And once again, we're going to be going head to head with whatever the lead meme coins are, be it Pepe and Brett next time. They'll be side by side with the Jesse AI VIP picks, the next sector, which is GameFi, ZK rollup, Oracle type of stuff. We'll catch you guys on the next one.